Welcome to the Nicardo Media House YouTube channel. Reggae Boys versus Trinidad and Tobago this weekend. World Cup qualifying campaign. Today I'm joined by the man himself, Nicardo. How are you doing? Reggae Boys versus Trinidad. How confident are you going into this game?
Look, blessings, Pressa, blessings to be here again, man. I think this is a second appearance or so on the show, but, really appreciate you taking the time out to be here, with me as well. But look, I'm super happy. Yeah, I'm super happy, man. I've been thinking about, this November window since the October window has finished. Yeah, when that final whistle blow inside of the National Stadium, when we beat Bermuda, I just said, look, I can't wait. I can't wait until the November, because guess what? This will be a historic month for the national team and for the history of Jamaican football as well. So look, the mood should be positive around the place. You understand? The mood should be positive. But yeah, man, I'm happy, hope the fans out there, is happy as well. And, just be supportive, towards the players and the squad. And look, let us rally around as a nation and just let us, carry the burden as a 12 man to just look when it comes on to the last game after group stage, that the most decisive game, we are going to rally the troops. We are going to make it an easy, let them be unsettled on the pitch. Try to do as much as we can in the stadium, even if you're watching it on the TV or whatever, on the phone or whatever. You understand? So we're not going to make the QSL team come and just lay down and think it's going to be an easy game. So we have our work to play, and as a player as well, the players their work to play, and the coaching staff as their work to play as well. So yeah, I'm happy, just like every other Jamaican fans out there.
Well, before I get to the atmosphere, right, just to let the people know, in this video, we will be talking about the World Cup atmosphere leading into these two upcoming games. Also, the preparations for both teams going into the game, which is Jamaica and Trinidad, the strength and weakness of the Reggae Boy squad, the recent 23-man squad that was recently selected, and also how can the Reggae Boys get a positive result against this Trinidad and Tobago team, otherwise known as the Soca Warriors. Now, in terms of that question, right? Jamaica, the atmosphere. First of all, after that hurricane devastating Jamaica, we need something positive for the nation, right? So
Yeah,
I do believe the boys, they know the task at hand. I don't think this devastation will be used as any further motivation for them. I think beforehand, in terms of Jamaica not qualifying for a World Cup since 1997, that is enough motivation, right? But with this recent hurricane that would have happened, I think, for the boys going into these upcoming two games, obviously that will be on the back of their minds, as well as many other things as well. So I think the atmosphere is right. I think they're pretty positive. I think they want to get the job done in terms of qualifying for the World Cup 2026. Now, in terms of the atmosphere, right? The
yeah.
recent 23-man squad would have been selected. You did a video pertaining to that 23-man squad.
I would say
We are on
26.
YouTube. Yeah, 26-man squad. We are on YouTube, right? We see the reaction from different YouTubers across the space. We see the reaction from different fans across the space pertaining to this 26-man squad. What is your opinion on the atmosphere of opinions surrounding that 26-man squad?
Look, it's an experienced squad, man, Pressa. It's an experienced squad. I think this squad, have all the qualities, to hurt a Trinidad team away, and have all the qualities, to get that positive result, in the last game, the decisive game of the November window. So I mean, if you look at the keeper, it's straightforward. If you look at the defenders, every God Almighty players in this squad, except I think Tafari Chamber and Rico Henry as well, haven't made an appearance yet in the World Cup qualifiers. Rico Henry is new. Then Tafari is a third string goalkeeper. I have to buy him time to see if a Blakey will go down, or I'm just saying that's the only reason he's going to get game in the World Cup qualifier, because if suspension or injury. But defenders, some experienced defenders as well, and I think we have a lot of quality. And I do feel like when I look at the other two teams, yes, it's not just individual, it's not just individual brilliance on the pitch that will get the best, of our opponent. And it's a collective work, that's why 11 players starting a game in a football game, and then you will have the coach, to back up, the team with his tactics and, to make in-game management and stuff like that. So it's a collective effort, man. So the midfield, look, we didn't even have to start there, as they didn't even have to go there, into the midfield where look, it's just 5 players in the midfield. We should have at least beef up the midfield a little bit more. You understand? But I'm pretty much confident in the attacking third that look, the strikers, we have like 4 strikers. All 4 strikers have already scored for the national team. You see that it's in competitive game or it's in friendly game as well. But they are all score, and I think it's just one of the 4 strikers that who haven't scored in a game as yet in the World Cup qualifier, and that's Roman Bird, because lack of opportunity, lack of minutes on the pitch. The BOYZ, the Kadamatieri, the Warner Brown, they have all scored, and if them are great, is yet to play a single minute in the final round in the World Cup qualifier for the national team. So he will be buzzing, he can't wait, he want to grace the pitch, he want to help this country. So I do feel like we have everything, in the chamber that look, we can get positive result, from these 2 games. So let's see if the ball is going to make it easy or it's going to be a nail biting moment. But straight up, we're going to get, these results, and we're going to get the positive ones, and we're going to be in the World Cup coming next summer.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, like whenever I have a birthday and my team is to play, like Manchester United, I never really get the result that I think I deserve as a gift. So despite it not being my birthday on Thursday, maybe you have a bit more luck in terms of the Reggae Boys showing up and delivering the important result and gifting you the win that you deserve on your 30th birthday, right? But in terms of the atmosphere, I do sense a lot of positivity. I also sense negativity. One of our own JT, I know for sure he's a bit more negative in terms of his assessment of this team, talking about the fact that Jamaica might not qualify for the World Cup due to the fact of the selection of 5 midfielders. We're talking about Bobby De Cordova-Reid, who scored over the weekend. We're talking about Isaac Hayden, very important piece of the puzzle, as well as Jonathan Russell, Joshua Anglin, Corey Anderson. So when you look at it, there is some cause for concern in terms of fans voicing their, what we would say, negative opinions about that midfield. Maybe it's not even negative. Maybe it's more so concern due to the lack of midfielders. We're talking about 5 midfielders, 9 forwards, 4 strikers in particular. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not so sure. Well, yes, again, there is some form of negativity around the selection. And I think in terms of every selection, England, France, you will always have people who are divided to some extent when it comes down to the selection process. Maybe there wasn't a player in the team that they would have wanted, right? Now, again, we agree that the atmosphere is right in our opinion. Now, in terms of the strength and weakness of well, not the strength and weakness, in terms of the preparations, right? We know that over the weekend, some of the guys would have played. Demara Gray, he scored over the weekend. Bobby De Cordova-Reid, even one of our own didn't get selected, but Tyrese Hall scored for Notts County. Wonderful performance from the lad again, despite us snubbing him, right? And word on the street is that he wants to play for Jamaica. Now, in terms of preparations for the team, right? I think some of the guys would have arrived in the island already, such as Kahim Dixon and Bailey Kadamatieri. Going into this game, right? What do you think is the preparation like for the Reggae Boys and Steve McCLAREN? Do you think there will be a bit more of intense training sessions, seeing that we're seeing the guys going into the last 2 games?
Look, I'm buzzing already, Presser. I'm buzzing already. Thursday, the game will be playing on my birthday. You understand? I will be 30 strong. You understand? Put my age out there. I'm not shy away from saying, I will be 30 strong, coming this Thursday. But hopefully it will be a birthday gift. Hopefully it will be, happy moments, in my household and also in every other Reggae Boys, household as well, cheering on the national team, hoping that, they get the best possible result that can, set the table, for that game, at home versus QSL. But I don't want to say the fans are being a little bit too negative. I'm going to use the same word that you use. It's a little bit of concern from a lot of the fans, and fans are entitled, their opinion, towards the game. So look, the fans are the one that, purchase the match day tickets, purchasing the merchandise and to support the national team in every way they can as well. And to be the 12 man to fill up the stadium, bring that atmosphere, bring that right energy in the stadium. So fans have all right, to question stuff in around a squad, especially the national team, that the fans are very passionate about. They want to see the national team qualify for the World Cup, because a lot of fans during this time at this moment, most of us don't remember anything on what happened, during the 1998 campaign, and the fans them that who did experience it, they're a bit up in their age, so the younger ones like me, born in the 90s, and the ones that born in the 2000, they want to see the national team, they want to go to the World Cup, they want to see their team playing against the toughest national teams, they want to see the players competing against the best that the world have to offer, so it's just concern, it's not just negativity and around the place, more of, I think, as much as they voice in your opinion out there, I just think it's a bit of concern. But deep down, when that first whistle blow and that ball start to roll down in Trinidad, yeah, everyone will be forget about how, Steve McCLAREN, how Rudolph Speed, would have structured. I don't want to say speed, but how McCLAREN have structured that midfield to pick 5 players. It's a bit of concern. I think it could have been a little bit more qualities. Do we really need, 4 strikers? Which national team, use 4 strikers in around a national squad, especially going to 2 crucial games? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if all 4 strikers will play in the 2 games over the next, you would say, 9 days. You understand? So I mean, it's just a bit of concern. The preparation, like, I don't think we should go more in like intense work. You understand? A lot of these players have played, I don't want to say a lot because our players are not really playing minutes, but I just, just the atmosphere, the spectacle of the game should just motivate the players to look. It's going to be an intense battle. You're going to need to run. You're going to need to outdo and win your individual battles, your individual duels, versus your rival, on the pitch who's playing up in your position as well. So it's just all about, to win your individual duels. But the preparation, man, at home, getting the players, we could have seen what happened yesterday, the first training session. Yes, we would have probably another training session today, and then the team probably would have, I don't know when they're going down in Trinidad, but that first training session was crucial, yesterday, and to get the jet lag out of their legs and to just let the players, enjoy the mood, just being amongst each other again, talk about the game, talk about, what is happening on the ground as well. Different stuff, talking around the squad, but it's more on the mental side. How, we going to break down this team, tactically. I hope that, we get some work done on the grass, before we kick a ball, in the next 2 games, work on the defensive structure, work on the shape. So it's more of, a mind game, tactical game on the training ground, more than getting intense training session in a round where, the players have already, in the season. And if you look at some of the players that going to start the games, it's just probably like 2 of them, who's completely not really playing any minutes on the pitch. You understand? But quite a few important players, yes, they have been involved there and there every other 90 minute or every other game, for the club team. So intense work, I don't think that is priority. The priority is the mental part, defensive structure, the team shape, and get that camaraderie and get that collective work, in around the place. So, everyone can really, go at this Trinidad team and work together on the same page.
And I guess you could say it's the same for Trinidad. I've been listening to coach Dwight York, and he's a bit more tight-lipped on Trinidad and their preparations to some extent. But I would assume it is the same like Jamaica, not the same in terms of tactically or that type of thing, but not being too intense because you don't want to burn out the guys before heading into this game against Jamaica, and they would feel hard done by scoring 3 offside goals, even though they were offside. VAR did confirm that, but in a different universe without VAR, they would have won that game against Jamaica at the National Stadium. So they have to gauge themselves in terms of reserving enough energy to play at home and get a favorable result against Jamaica, which obviously for them it would be a win. And beating Jamaica gives them enough confidence heading into that last game against Bermuda, in which I would assume, and you would also assume, that they will beat Bermuda. That will be an easy game for them, as well as Curacao as well, who will play Bermuda before heading to Jamaica to play Jamaica at the National Stadium. Now, for me, when you look at the preparation process, right, you have a lot of guys who hardly getting minutes at their respective clubs, right? We talk about the likes of Shamar Nichols and we talk about the likes of Kahim Dixon. Whisper have recently been phased back into the under 21s team. We know that the guys like, Roman Borrell and Billy Kadama-Thierry, they play a lot of minutes. Ronaldo Cephas, not so much. Now, recently in the press conference, the coach spoke about the fact that Shemar Nicholson is one of the best strikers in the Caribbean, right? Do you believe with a comment or statement like that, despite Nicholson not having enough minutes at his club, would you say that statement leads to the fact that this coach might start a limited Shamar Nicholson with minutes? Will he start him in the game against Trinidad? What do you think?
Look, it's going to be, a tough one. Like for me personally, I feel like Billy Kadama-Thierry will be that striker, to start down in Trinidad. Why? Because I think he offer more in terms of his press, in terms of his running behind, his physicality, just his overall game. I do think that we're going to need that number 9 that going to do every bit of piece, down in Trinidad, pressing their back line, trying to run off their shoulder. As soon as the ball turn over, you're going to need that quick burst of speed, right in off their shoulder as well. So I think Bailey offer more, in the Trinidad game, especially if you look at how they want to come at us. And then if you look at it, who the coach might pick, I'm not sure. I think he might go with a Roman Borrell. You understand? I think he will leave, a Bowser for the game in Kingston, leave him with a lot of energy, as look, he's playing at home, he's playing in front of his family as well, he will be pumped up, to get the job done for his country as well. Which I'm not saying Bailey and Borrell and the other players on the pitch not going to be pumped up, but I feel like there's something different, from a Shamar Nichols. And if you look at his experience, over the last couple of years, as much as he's not playing a lot of minutes, I remember, during his spell when he single-handedly, take us to the Copa America in the two-legged game, versus Canada. He wasn't really getting enough minutes on the back of that. He would have just, I think, transferred to Clermont in the French Liga, after being starved for minutes for Spartak Moscow in the Russian Premier League. So it's nothing new, for Bowser, but I feel like Bowser will be the right option, for the coach to going into the second game inside of the office in Kingston, Jamaica as well. And I want to put this out there as well, like this Trinidad team, as much as they don't have the big name players, they're not playing at the giant clubs, but a lot of their players have already finished their season, so they have quite a few time to be preparing for this game as well. They have a few local players that getting a recall back to the national team. They have debutant as well, local players, so they have enough time to get more players, to be they have more players, to be preparing, for this game as well. So the preparation have been going good. Dwight York is a bit pleased with the preparation and the players that are available to him as well in the last couple of days for training as well. So they're going to give it their all. They're going to give it everything that they can offer on that pitch. So that's why it's going to be even tougher than a soldier going to that World War II. You would say probably over 50 odd years ago.
I mean, you can clip this, right? And you can post it on TikTok, Instagram, send it to the groups. But there was a big accusation recently that the Jungle 3, that Ronaldo Cephas doesn't want to play any ball in behind to the English striker because he doesn't want him to get the glory. But he wants to then, find Shamar Nicholson. Do you have any opinion on that? Do you think Ronaldo Cephas is a detriment to the team and to that extent if there's an English striker playing compared to Nicholson, who he's more willing to find?
No, look, I'm going to rubbish that. I'm going to rubbish that argument. I don't see the sense of even come up with the idea of that. You understand? I do feel like, Ronald Cephas, want the best for his country. He want to be on the statistics, sheet as well, getting the assist, getting the odd goal, not just, being explosive down, on the wing. That just not going to help his game. He need to be on the stat sheet. He needs to show, the end product, that what he's creating on that wing. So I feel like if you look at the Unity Cup, look at the opportunities that he create, for his teammates in the Unity Cup as well. Who was a striker? Roman Borrell was a striker as well. So I don't buy that argument, you understand? But what I can say is that maybe there is a level of understanding of the jungle tree, the Kahim, Boza, and Sifas, good friends. I'm not sure if all three players, not those three players don't grow up in the community of jungle. Shaman Nicholson's, they are more from the BOYZ Town, Trench Town era, and Kaim Dixon. I think, it's just because Sifas, they labeling Sifas as a jungle man because he once played for Arnett Garden. And, he's an ex-junglist, so again, understanding, is probably, be aware of the runs that Shaman Nicholson like to make, right into the center half as well at the near post. So maybe it's just a level of understanding from Cephas and also Kahim Dixon of knowing exactly how Boza played. If you look at the Bermuda game, Kahim Dixon tried to find, Shaman Nicholson so many times on different phase in the game where I think he got caught offside, or sometimes he wasn't reading the game, or the pass just misplaced by Kaim. So I just think it's the level of understanding and the collective work and the body of work that those three players, can bring, and the energy that both players on the wing, the Cephas and the Dixon, can bring to the game. I mean, no defenders want to start it out a game by facing those two wingers that want to bring the pace and the energy and just be fearless, and coming directly towards them. You understand? So it's just the understanding between, the three players.
Yeah, I think it was something that I saw floating around. So I asked the question. I don't think there's anything to it. I think Cephas isn't that stupid to be a detriment to the team in terms of seeing a pass to a Bailey Kadama and not giving him, rather giving a Shamar Nicholson if Shamar Nicholson is in that said position, right? Now, in terms of the strength and weakness of this Reggae Boys team, again, the 26-man squad selection, the main concern is the midfield, right? And the last game, we know that Trinidad did dominate us in the midfield. Curacao as well, they dominated us in the midfield as well. So it is apparent that the midfield for Jamaica from, Hall Grimson and even before would have been the major weakness for this Reggae Boys team. Now, I know that you agree that the midfield is a weakness. Is there a workaround to that problem for Jamaica going up against Trinidad and Curacao? How can Coach McCLAREN fix that issue with having a weak midfield in terms of depth and quality as well? God forbid Isaac Hayden comes off with an injury or Bobby De Cordova Reed. Who do we then look to replace these guys that can replicate performances that they would show us? That is very important.
Yeah, look, the midfield, Pressa, it's been like that, man. It's been like that, since I think go all the way back to even Schaefer when he took over the national team. I think it was in 2013, from Tapa Whitmore. So it's been, that concern over the place over the last decade and more, so Al Grimson, he just couldn't fix it. He tried to find different ways and how to, get the team play away from the midfield because we don't have the players to really, to control the game. Even look, the last game that we played versus Trinidad inside of the office, they played with like a 4-4-2 and we played with like a 4-3-3. So we have that extra man in the midfield and we just couldn't get the ball more than a Frederick and a Rampasad in the midfield. So they dominate that ball. They have more touches on that ball. They dictate the tempo of that game while looking at our players, playing at a more higher standard. It's like, wait, what is going on? I think Rampasad, is playing in the Canadian Premier League, and also I think Frederick, is playing for I think it's like one of those second string team for one of those MLS franchise. So those players are not playing at a high level. And look at the players who played and started, for the Reggae Boys in that game. So it's just that going into games, we just cannot think about like the Reggae Boys going to dominate any team. We just don't have the system. We don't have the coach, that can, tactically set up the players to do so. And also we don't really have the players, to really do that job as well. So it's just a difficult moment, with the midfield. That's why the fans, cast for a little bit of alarming bell around the place of their concern that, the 5 players that the coach pick in that department, it's just like, hey, what are you doing? You causing yourself, to have, chaos. Like what happened, in the Gold Cup. Look at what happened in the Gold Cup. Isaac Hayden, he wasn't there. And oh my word, it was devastated to watch at times. The Reggae Boys midfield, we were just all over the place. So it's going to be, one of the biggest weakness in this national team. And also, yeah, the center half, they can be vulnerable, especially on set piece, especially when the ball is hitting directly at us, or, you will have the third man running from the midfield, and players are just running off the shores, and players are just running all over, so then, there will be a little bit of panic, in the center half and the wing backs, in this national team. But more so, I would say, look, the alarming bell, it is the midfield. How can we pack this midfield to not get run over, to be just be physical, just don't let the opponent team, control the game. Just don't let them have a lot of timing on the football. You have to be in their face, you have to be physical, you have to win your duels, in that midfield. That's what we can do to win the battles. We might lose the battle in terms of our players will control the possession, will control the touches, but guess what? Every other thing on that stat sheet, we going to dominate them, and that's all you can actually get to win a midfield over your opponent. Just don't let them get settled. So let's see what's going to happen, man, because this midfield, it's a big concern for me, and it's just not me, it's for the nation to see that, look, where the coaching staff is going with this midfield five.
We have seen Demar Gray in the number 10, and I don't think he's the most creative in that position. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think he's very limited in terms of what he offers. We saw him against BVI. We saw him in the recent not Nations League, but the recent Gold Cup competitions, and he didn't really offer that much creativity in any sense. So you talk about the long ball, route one football. We might see that rolling out against Curacao, but we talk about the apparent weakness in terms of the midfield and how we can, move past that situation, right? Past that situation. I think one of our strengths in this team could also be a weakness of ours, in the sense of, yes, we predominantly play on the wings in terms of Ronaldo Cephas, Tyrese Campbell. But if against Trinidad or Curacao, they decide to, lock Jamaica down in terms of their wing play, not giving them that space in behind. And if you look at the Trinidad game at home, Ronaldo Cephas didn't really have much glory in behind that Trinidad defense. It was oftentimes two defenders up against Ronaldo Cephas. They closed him down well, didn't get the space in behind as he was allowed in the games such as Bermuda, etc., etc. So I think to some extent that can even be a weakness for this Jamaica team. So I think we will have to be very versed in terms of having different playing styles across 90 minutes to break down Trinidad and the Curacao at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the last thing I want to discuss with you, right?
Yes.
How can the Reggae Boys get a positive result versus Trinidad and Tobago this Thursday? What is the best scenario in terms of style of play and lineup for the Reggae Boys to get the 3 points against Trinidad? I want to hear your starting 11 in this video.
Whew, starting level, man, that's going to be tough. You understand? It's going to be tough, but I'll try my best to give you the best possible starting level that can really get the best result, on the day in Trinidad, coming this Thursday. But the playing style, look, I think this game will suit the Reggae Boys. I think this game will suit the Reggae Boys. Look at the Trinidad team. They need maximum points, from the two games that are coming up for them. So they need to go all out in the two games. But the first one, it is the most important one for them. That can actually set them up, to go ahead and beat a Bermuda, coming in the final game, and hope that result can go their way in Kingston, Jamaica as well, which I think is going to be tough for them to get any qualification, to the World Cup, any spot, so they can, live again until, the next March window, until the next FIFA window, which will be in March. You understand? But I think this Trinidad team going to play, I think it will play right in the hands of the national team. You said it, predominantly, like, we played more of our games down the channels, on the wing. Ronaldo Cephas, he is our weapon. He is our danger man, and we tend to go, towards him a lot of times. But again, team can really, X amount of games by putting 2-3 players on him. But it's how we going to set up the game, how we going to play tactically around Cephas, pull players away from him, trying to get him isolated as 1v1 as much as possible, down that left hand side, down that right hand side, wherever, the coach going to put him in the game, and, let him go, 1v1. For pace, he will beat anyone in world football. So I think, the transition game will suit the Reggae Boys team, and how the Trinidad team have to come out and play some football and actually come out and attack, and that will leave a lot of room, in behind for the Reggae Boys team to hit this Trinidad team, in around the transition. But my starting 11, Blake will be in goal. Dexter Lemekisa, I will go with Dexter Lemekisa, down in Trinidad, and also I will play Ian Frey in the second. I will start Ian Frey in the second game. I will go with Damian Lowe because I think this game is going to call for more of a warrior spirit. It's going to call for a little bit of experience. And, the magnitude of the game, these are the games that Damian Lowe live for in the CONCACAF. These are the games that, you want to be in. And I think he will be up for this game as well. So when you talk about, each one, protect each one, on the pitch, Damian Lowe is the one that can really start that process by, get someone out of the game really quick by the first tackle, send a warning sign to the Trinidad. Look, it's not going to be better Rose. It's not going to be easy back here. And I will bring, Ethan Pinnock, someone that will bring the level-headed, game. He will be the one that to really, the calm, cool and ball, and actually sometimes, his calmness on the ball can really intercept, a lot of passes, runnings in the channels from different various positions on the pitch, where the Trinidad players will be running from. So I think both players will complement each other. And I think, with the situation of Rico Henry and not getting his documents, which I think he will get it, and he will totally he will 100% be ready for that Curacao game. I think for the game in Trinidad, I think for player to come and make his debut for the national team, I will more likely reward Greg Lee that opportunity to play in Trinidad, especially if you look at the September window, back-to-back assist registered on the board in both games. So, and then right after in the October window he got dropped. So I want to reward Greg Lee for his good performances that he made in the September window. So yeah, that's my backline right there. And then the midfield, Isaac Hayden, he's a pick. And I will go with Bobby and Kerry Anderson in that midfield. Why? Look, I don't think this game will suit John Russell in the first 45 minutes. I don't see this game really suit. I think it's going to be more, as I said, more of an energy, high intense game. And Kera Anderson, a young player, he likes to get himself intact. He likes to be physical as well. I will trust, and I will actually, just gamble and Kera Anderson to get his first start, in the World Cup qualifier in the final round versus Trinidad. I think he have a lot of attribute that the game will definitely call for the Reggae Boys in that midfield. And Bobby Reid, you know what you're going to get from Bobby Reid. Every time when you put on that black, green and gold shirt, you're going to get the maximum, the utmost, performance from a Bobby Day cover Reid. So that will be my front, that will be my midfield three. And also my front three, as I said, I'm more likely we're going to need a striker that's going to give you every bits of piece that a number 9 can offer in the top end of the game. Bailey Kadamate or a Roman Burrell. Doesn't matter for me which one. And I would love to see probably a Bailey or a Burrell. Probably a Burrell, getting that nod over Bailey because reward him of his good performance for his club as well. He's on a more of a run at this moment. If you look at his club games, it's just Burrell cannot do anything wrong at this moment. You understand? You just have a high for that goal. And also, I will go for Kaim Dixon on the right and also Cephas on the left, just to bring the pace and the energy. And Demari Gray, I think I will leave him on the bench. But for the second game, I think there should be a starting level spot for Demari Gray in the second game. But this game coming up versus Trinidad, it's going to call for a lot of runners. Yeah, we're going to need a lot of hunters and we're going to need a lot of runners. Someone that's going to be very direct. You understand? and the midfielders, soon as they get the ball, they should be looking on the wing. They should be looking down the channels for our number 9. And it's just plain and simple. It's not rocket science. The rocket science will come in and how we going to set up the team defensively, how we going to defend with the same shape. Players are not dropping behind. Everyone is coordinating together. And that's it for me right there. This Jamaica team, if we can do at least, 3/4 of all those stuff, the 3 points or a draw should be in our hands, but we just cannot go in this game and lose this game.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I agree with the lineup in terms of Cephas on the left hand
Yeah.
side, Bailey as the striker, but I would stick with Tyrese Campbell. For me, I think Campbell, he has played at the highest level at least more than Dix in terms of the championship, right? So I think he has that experience that we might need in terms of going into that Trinidad game. For me, let's be honest, Dixon, he hasn't played at a level where it's a high pressure moment, a high pressure situation. We're talking about a Tyrese Campbell that would have been promoted to the championship with Charlton Athletic, and he was a key component in that. So, in terms of qualifying for anything, Tyrese Campbell, he has been in those moments with Charlton Athletic, right? As for Dixon, yes, he has played games for Jamaica. He has been brought on as a substitute, but it's quite different being, brought on as a substitute, being asked to do a job for 10-15 minutes in comparison to starting a game and making an impact in terms of creating doing your job defensively, etc. But that is it for today's video, people. I want to see, or you guys can drop your prediction down below in the comment section. Before we wrap up as well, let me get a prediction for the Trinidad game and the Curacao game as well.
Yeah, for the Trinidad game, I see us getting a 2-1 victory. I see maybe the Trinidad team score first and the reggaeboyz will react, and then we will bounce back from that, and we will prevail in the game and win by a 2-1 margin coming from behind. You understand? I see one of our attacking players score. I don't know where the other goes, but I see one of our attacking players will get a break in around in the transition, after that Trinidad team is trying to hunt in for a goal and, attacking deep in our defensive third, and we just hit them. That's how I see one of the goals will score, and maybe a set piece from any player that will score a goal for the national team. And for the Curacao game, say we need a point, to qualify for the next round. Yeah, say we need like a point to qualify for the World Cup. I see us win a game 1-0, in the national stadium. If we need a full 3 points, on the day to beat a Curacao team, look, oh my God, man, it's going to be nail biting inside of a national stadium. So I will see us winning that game 2-0. But yeah, that's my prediction.
For me, going away from home against Trinidad, I think it'll be a very tight game. I could see a 2-2 draw in that game personally. And as for the Curacao game, I could see Jamaica defeating Curacao maybe 2-0. I'm pretty confident that we can keep a clean sheet. Defensively, I don't think Jamaica is bad. In some moments we might lapse defensively, as we did in previous games, and we would have been saved by VAR. But I still believe in terms of the likes of Damian Lowe, Mason Holgate, if they do start, I believe in their strengths as defenders, that they can keep a clean sheet. And I think Andre Blake has something to prove as well in terms of stepping up to the plate. He would have had recent performances in which we wouldn't have been impressed with. So I know for sure he needs to step up to the plate. So that is my prediction. For those of you guys who would have watched until the end, drop your prediction down below in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Nicardo Media House YouTube channel. Until next time, guys, stay safe.
Bless up.
So.
Ciao.